What's up, guys? I hope y'all are having a great day today, just full of so much positivity and happiness, dude. Well, at least more positivity than Sony and Insomniac are feeling right now, because Insomniac has suffered a massive security breach as a result of ransomware being loaded onto several different developer computers within the studio, and well, over a terabyte of data has been leaked, which includes everything from Marvel's Wolverine gameplay footage to the roadmaps of their upcoming releases, internal documents discussing Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, contract details for their game agreements with Marvel, you name it. Pretty much anything you can think of was exposed in this leak, and it's pretty bad, man. This is definitely one of the most prolific leaks of all time when it comes to any video game studio. This is definitely up there with the GTA 6 leak, which the GTA 6 leak was nowhere near this bad because no one actually hacked in. They just social engineered their way into a Slack channel which had limited information. This person got into Insomniac's internal systems and basically had access to pretty much anything and everything that they had stored on their internal computer system. So the amount of information that's being leaked here is definitely something we have not seen in quite some time, and it comes in a long history of PlayStation and Sony in general being compromised. I'm sure everyone remembers that massive Sony hack back in the early 2010s, which took PlayStation Network down for over a month and basically exposed all of their upcoming movies, TV shows, executive emails, you name it. All of Sony was completely compromised. Then if we fast forward a little bit more, you can think of The Last of Us 2 leaks. You can think of recently where Sony got compromised again, and now we have it happening with Marvel's Wolverine and Insomniac in general, and overall it's pretty interesting, man. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be able to show anything that was leaked in this video because Sony, as we saw with The Last of Us Part 2, when that got leaked, they basically were striking anyone and everyone, in some cases, just for talking about these leaks. But, I'm not really afraid of talking about leaks because I feel like that's a pretty easy thing to dispute, because if they can't actually point to something that I'm showing on screen that could be considered copyright infringement or leaking classified information or just something in that regard, I think I'm in the clear and I have no problem disputing that. But the second I actually show what could be considered classified corporate documents or trade secrets, so as long as I don't physically show them on screen, I don't have any problem disputing a potential strike that may come my way from discussing these leaks. So for obvious reasons, I will not be able to put them up on the screen, but if you want to find these, they're pretty easy to find. Just type in Insomniac leaks, Wolverine hack, like anything related to this in Twitter, and you will find many screenshots, files, videos, you name it, of pretty much anything and everything that came out of this leak. So I'm sure you can also find the site where the leakers actually posted the files themselves as well. I'm just not going to direct you to that because obviously for legal reasons that probably would not be the best idea, but I think Twitter is definitely a great resource if you want to find a lot of this information that's going to be talked about in this particular video and look at it for yourself. Now, the biggest thing that obviously was leaked was information surrounding Marvel's Wolverine coming from Insomniac Games, and this has been a game that's been teased for quite some time that a lot of people are really looking forward to because it's actually going to be a mature rated superhero game coming from Insomniac, which a lot of people have been wanting, and especially in the case of Spider-Man 2, a lot of people were hoping we would get like a glimpse at what a mature Venom game could actually look like, which didn't exactly pan out. So this game has been very interesting to a lot of people, including myself. I like the fact that, Insomniac was going to make something a little bit more mature, but I have to say, after watching the gameplay, I absolutely fucking hate the perspective that you're playing this game in. It looks like a God of War 2018 clone, in all honesty, where you're just playing as Wolverine instead of Kratos, and I'm not really a fan of that over-the-shoulder third-person action game perspective. I much prefer the zoomed-out camera so you can actually see what's going on around you, but it seems to be that traditional Dark Souls-light, dodge, block, attack simulator that a lot of Sony games kind of fall into the trap of. I think God of War 2018 is the perfect example I can think of. Think of a Wolverine skin over top of God of War 2018's gameplay, and I think that's exactly what we're looking at here. So if you're a fan of that gameplay style, you're probably going to be very happy to hear that, but I was more so hoping this game would fall in line with something like Prototype, for example, where it's a much more fast-paced, fun, just gory, brutal, non-stop action, you know, style game that's more arcadey, but it seems like we're getting that more tactical, slowed down, deliberate combat like we see in games like God of War Ragnarok and God of War 2018. I mean, that is literally what this game looks like. Now, they did show that you could play as a female character as well, go figure. Leave it to Insomniac to make you play as a different character other than the one named in the title of the game for, you know, the diversity points and, you know, inclusion and the ESG rating that comes with that. I'm sure the instruction of Sweet Baby Inc. that they've done plenty of business with before, but yeah, that's also something to note. You will not just be playing this game as Wolverine, and there were some other details that did leak about this game as well. As far as the setting goes, the game will be taking place in Alaska, a place called Avalon, also in Canada, Japan, and Madripoor. So I'm not really sure what Avalon and Madripoor are, but if you're familiar with those, or if there's some like specific location in the comics, that's probably why. But those seem to be the 5 hub locations in the game. So this game is set to be more linear from what Insomniac has come out and said. So that would be kind of interesting to see how the game progresses over time and how the different environments affect, I guess, the gameplay experience as the plotline progresses, or if you'll play as different characters in those different locations, considering the fact that we do know that you're not just only going to be playing as Wolverine. But, you know, sticking on the topic of Marvel, we all know that Insomniac has been cranking out Marvel games pretty consistently recently. Well, it seems like they're going to be upping the pace on that even more because we got a leaked timeline for Insomniac's upcoming game projects, and in 2025 fall, we're going to be getting Marvel's Venom. In fall 2026, we're going to be getting Marvel's Wolverine. In 2028, we're going to be getting Marvel's Spider-Man 2. In 2029, we'll be getting a new Ratchet and Clank game. In 2030, we will be getting Marvel's X-Men, and in 2031 or 2032, we will be getting a brand new IP from Insomniac Games. So it seems like Insomniac is not taking their foot off the gas pedal whatsoever when it comes to cranking out games for the PlayStation 5, which I've been saying it this entire generation. They have absolutely been carrying Sony on their backs this generation. They seem to be the only studio across Microsoft and Sony that has their shit together when it comes to consistently releasing games of a pretty decent quality and, you know, overall commercial and critical success. So say what you will about the games. Personally, I am definitely no fan of Spider-Man 2, but a lot of people seem to really enjoy it and enjoy Insomniac's take on the Marvel universe. So if you're a fan of Insomniac Marvel games, you are definitely going to be happy to hear this news. And personally, I think it's going to be interesting to see where they take the Venom game, because for all intents and purposes, Venom was completely fucking removed from the Insomniac Games universe or whatever the fuck it's called. So I don't really know what they're going to do with that. I would love if they would do a prototype styled Venom game. I think that would be so much fucking fun with like blood and gore, mature themes, arcadey combat. I feel like that would be a really fun game. And honestly, it might be something I would genuinely be interested in. Out of everything named in this list, it definitely sounds like the most promising, but I don't really know where they're going to take it, because considering the plot and storyline of Spider-Man 2, there's not really too many options if they plan on like building on the universe they already have established, or if it's going to be its own standalone game, then I don't really see an issue, and maybe they can do whatever the fuck they want. You know, that's still yet to be seen, but I do think it's interesting we're getting that before Wolverine, because a lot of people were speculating that Wolverine would be coming out either in 2024 or at latest 2025, but it seems like Wolverine might get pushed back all the way to 2026, and instead we're going to be getting a Venom game earlier than that, which has not yet been announced. So I do think that is pretty interesting. And going back to the X-Men topic, surrounding X-Men, we actually got leaked details of their contract with Disney in order to actually develop the Wolverine and X-Men games, and it's actually pretty interesting and gives a unique insight into, I guess, the contracting requirements that it takes to work with Marvel on a game like this. Now, we do know that basically this license covers PlayStation consoles and PC, so it seems like that PlayStation is planning on releasing these games on PlayStation 5 and PC PC at some point, and as well as a minimum commitment of $621 million across 3 games. So basically, Sony is guaranteeing that they will be spending at least $180 million developing games under the X-Men IP, which is an absolutely astronomical figure to think about. Like, that is a huge commitment. It means that Sony is really going to be spending a shitload of money pumping out as many AAA games as they can in order to meet this requirement. And another thing that's interesting too is that in this contract, it requires that one of the first 3 games that PlayStation develops using the X-Men IP has to sell at least 6 million units across the PlayStation 5 and PC platform in the span of a year, or else the contract can be terminated by either party, resulting in Sony having to pay Disney $9 million as a termination fee. Which also puts into perspective something else, which is that Sony is literally bundling Spider-Man 2, and they bundled the original PlayStation 4 Spider-Man with pretty much every single console sold, so it makes you wonder if there's an agreement in place for that IP as well that guarantees that Sony sells a certain number of copies by a certain date in order to maintain their control over that IP and keep the exclusivity rights. Which, speaking of exclusivity rights, this deal basically allows Sony to have complete control over all X-Men related video games until December 31st, 2035. So depending on when this deal was signed, that's basically a 15-year plus period of exclusivity for X-Men related and licensed video games, which Sony has at their complete control across console, streaming services, and PC as well. It doesn't include mobile games, which for obvious reasons Disney probably wants to have control over that because that's probably where they view the most profitable video games to be anyway. But this is pretty interesting, man, and it really does provide a really deep insight into the video game industry and certain aspects of it that we don't traditionally get to see as the end consumer. And as unfortunate as it is that companies do get hacked and this type of shit gets leaked out through the channels that it does, it is interesting nonetheless to actually be able to go through and see how the inner workings of studios function. And I do think there is a lot of information here that you can probably spend hours going through, picking apart, getting all sorts of details regarding upcoming projects that Insomniac is working on, you know, gameplay snippets, you name it. Everything is here, even their response to Activision Blizzard, where they cite that basically they believe the Xbox Game Pass model of just, you know, handing out games for free is not sustainable, and they're going to continue to focus on paid premium experiences in order to combat it. Overall, there's a lot to unpack here. I would encourage everyone to go on Twitter and look this up. You can just type in Insomniac leaks, Insomniac hack, Marvel Wolverine hack. You can find all of this information and more. I just wanted to highlight some of the most, I guess, significant things that I personally saw and things I wanted to talk about because, like I said, this is interesting to get this kind of inside glimpse into the video game industry. But, you know, let me know your thoughts on this entire leak or hack in the comment section below. It's pretty wild that a ransomware attack revealed this much information. You would have thought that Sony would have just paid this, but I guess there's always the possibility that even if they did pay the ransom, all this shit would come out anyway because you're dealing with criminals, and criminals don't exactly play by the rules. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Make sure to hit that like button if you did enjoy this video, and with all of that shit said, I will catch you guys next time.